I never imagined a single moment could change everything I thought I knew about myself. One evening, a soft creak from my bedroom door signaled that my mom had entered, and before I could hide the evidence of my secret exploration, she was standing there, eyes wide, but not in anger, something else, something I couldn't immediately read. "Mark, is this really you?" she whispered, a mixture of shock, curiosity, and something else entirely in her voice. I froze. My mind raced, trying to explain, to justify, to retreat, but all words failed me. The soft blush creeping across my cheeks betrayed the truth I had been hiding for months. The neatly arranged clothes, the carefully practiced makeup brushes, the little experiments in silk and lace, they were all exposed in a single, terrifying instant. She stepped closer, slowly, deliberately, and then the unexpected happened. Instead of the scolding or judgment I had feared, she smiled, softly, almost tenderly. "If that's who you are," she said, her voice calm but firm, "then let's make it real." I blinked, stunned, my heart hammering in my chest. "Wait, what do you mean?" I stammered, unsure whether to feel fear, relief, or disbelief. She reached out, picking up a scarf I had draped across my chair, and examined it like it was a treasure. "I mean, if this is part of you, part of who you want to be, then hiding it isn't helping anyone. Not you, not me. Let's explore this together, safely, with care. But it starts now, Mark. No more secrets." A surge of emotions crashed through me, relief, joy, anxiety, and excitement all at once. My room, once a private sanctuary for cautious experimentation, now felt charged with possibility, every corner echoing the potential of authenticity finally embraced. I took a hesitant step forward, feeling the weight of vulnerability pressing against my chest. But what if people find out? What if others don't understand? She smiled, reassuringly, almost motherly, yet surprisingly adventurous. "Mark, it's not about what others think. It's about who you are. And if you're ready to take the next step, we'll do it together. Step by step. No rush. No judgment. Just you." For a long moment, I simply stared at her, heart pounding, mind racing. This was the first time I had felt completely seen, fully accepted, and yet the gravity of the moment made every nerve in my body tingle with tension. And then, just as I was beginning to grasp the enormity of her words, a faint noise echoed from the hall outside, a reminder that while my mom's acceptance was immediate, the world beyond my room was still uncertain, unpredictable, and full of potential challenges. My pulse quickened. Could I really embrace this new identity openly? Could I take these first steps without fear? And what would come next, now that my secret no longer belonged only to me? I swallowed hard, taking a shaky breath, and felt a mix of exhilaration and dread. The journey I had begun alone, cautiously, in the shadows of my room, was about to begin in full view, guided by my mom's unexpected support. I glanced at the neatly arranged makeup brushes, the soft scarves, the skirts I had been too afraid to wear openly, and whispered to myself, "This is it, but am I truly ready for what comes next?" The next morning, my room felt different. Sunlight streamed through the curtains, illuminating every corner that had once been a private refuge. But now, nothing was private, not entirely. My mom had insisted on helping me organize my little collection of clothes and accessories, transforming the chaos of my secret stash into something accessible, supportive, and encouraging. "Mark," she said softly, holding up a delicate lavender blouse, "let's start simple. Something that feels like you, but shows it proudly. You're ready for this." "I know you are." I hesitated, glancing at the blouse and then back at her. But what if it looks wrong? What if I'm not ready? She shook her head gently, placing a reassuring hand on my shoulder. "You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be honest. That's all. Perfection isn't the goal, authenticity is." Her words were like a lifeline, cutting through the fog of fear and self-doubt that had plagued me for months. I nodded slowly, taking the blouse from her hands. The fabric was soft, almost silky, and it felt surprisingly comforting against my skin. I carefully slipped it on, feeling a strange mixture of vulnerability and exhilaration. My mom's eyes softened as she watched.
See?
That wasn't so bad. You look right. You look like yourself, only braver. A faint smile tugged at my lips, but anxiety still lingered.
I
don't know if I can really do this, I admitted quietly. What if someone sees me? What if it doesn't feel real outside this room? Her response was simple but powerful. Then we take it one step at a time. Today, just us. Tomorrow, a little more. You're in control, Mark. Not anyone else. I took a deep breath, letting her words settle. For the first time, I realized that embracing this part of myself didn't require the approval of the world, it required my courage and commitment. And for the first time, I felt a flicker of genuine excitement. We spent the morning experimenting with subtle touches, adjusting hairstyles, experimenting with light makeup, and trying different accessories. Every small victory, every tentative smile in the mirror, reinforced the sense that I was stepping into a version of myself I had only dreamed about. By noon, my confidence had grown enough that my mom suggested a small, private photo session. She wanted to document this first stage of my transformation not for social media, not for anyone else, but for me. The idea was both terrifying and thrilling. Mark, she said, adjusting the camera angle. You don't have to smile if it doesn't feel natural. Just be yourself. That's all that matters. I positioned myself in front of the lens, heart racing. Each click of the shutter was a small victory, a tangible acknowledgement of the courage I was developing. I could feel my confidence growing, slowly but steadily, and the fear that had once dominated my thoughts began to recede, replaced by determination and self-acceptance. But just as I was beginning to relax, a faint sound from the hall caused me to freeze, a soft, deliberate creak, like a footstep I hadn't expected. My pulse quickened. I glanced at my mom, who looked toward the door with a slight furrow of concern. It's probably nothing, she whispered, but even her tone carried a hint of unease. The hair on my neck stood on end. The private sanctuary we had created felt suddenly vulnerable, exposed. My first steps toward authenticity had been exhilarating, but now a shadow of uncertainty loomed, an unwelcome reminder that even with support, the world beyond my room might not be as forgiving. I took a slow breath, trying to steady myself, and whispered under my breath. Who's there, and are they about to change everything I've worked for? The soft creak of the door faded, but my heart continued to pound. My mom gave me a reassuring glance. Mark, it's just the house settling. Focus on yourself. I nodded, trying to steady my racing thoughts. Today was the day I had been dreading and anticipating simultaneously, the first step outside my room, outside the safety of my private sanctuary, to experience a small but public version of myself. Mom had planned a quiet walk to the nearby park, insisting it was time for me to practice confidence beyond the walls of my bedroom. We stepped outside, the sunlight warm against our skin. The gentle breeze carried the faint scent of blooming flowers, but I could barely notice it. My nerves were taut, my senses alert. Every passerby felt like a potential judge. Every glance imagined or real amplified my anxiety. Mom held my hand, a grounding presence, and whispered, Remember, Mark, this is about you. Confidence comes from within, not from their approval. I took a shaky breath, adjusting my blouse and skirt as we walked. Each step was deliberate, each movement calculated to maintain composure, while embracing the authenticity I had been cultivating. I felt exposed, vulnerable, yet a spark of exhilaration flared within me. This was progress, however nerve-wracking. As we entered the small park, a few people strolled by, paying little attention to us. That small invisibility gave me courage. I focused on the soft clack of my shoes against the pavement, the sway of the skirt, the gentle lift of my chin. Mom's presence beside me made the difference between trembling and moving forward with cautious confidence. We reached a bench beneath a large oak tree, the dappled sunlight creating shifting patterns on the ground. Mom suggested we sit for a moment, just to observe, breathe, and reflect. I sat, trying to maintain a calm demeanor while my heart raced with anticipation and anxiety. Suddenly, a voice called out from across the park. "Hey, Mark." I froze. A figure was approaching, familiar yet unexpected. My chest tightened. The cautious bubble of safety Mom had provided now felt fragile, threatening to shatter. It was Alex, my childhood friend, someone who had always been supportive but protective in ways that sometimes felt suffocating. He approached slowly, a gentle smile on his face, though his eyes carried curiosity and a hint of concern. "Mark, I heard you were out here," he said. "Are you okay? You look different, but good different." I swallowed hard, feeling a mix of relief and fear. Relief because he wasn't judgmental, fear because he had seen me in ways I hadn't planned. I realized that public exposure, even small, magnified my vulnerabilities exponentially. Mom squeezed my hand gently, whispering, "You can do this. Take it slowly. Show him who you are." I nodded, summoning every ounce of courage I had cultivated. I'm trying," I admitted. "It's hard, but I want to do this." Alex nodded, a subtle encouragement in his expression. "You're doing fine, Mark. Really. Just take a deep breath and be yourself." I exhaled slowly, feeling the tension in my shoulders ease just slightly. For a few moments, the world seemed to hold its breath alongside me. I began to walk alongside Alex and Mom, each step a test, each glance from strangers a reminder that authenticity required bravery. But just as I was beginning to feel a fragile sense of accomplishment, a sudden commotion erupted near the park entrance. Laughter, whispers, and the unmistakable sound of pointing fingers reached my ears. My stomach twisted as I realized the attention was directed toward me. My heart raced. Could I maintain the composure I had worked so hard to cultivate? Could I withstand scrutiny outside the safety of my home, beyond the protective presence of my mom and Alex? The noise grew louder, the murmurs more deliberate, and a small crowd began to form. I froze, my hands trembling, as panic threatened to take over. Mom stepped closer, her hand firm on my back. "Mark, look at me. You are strong. You are authentic. Let them watch, but you control your reaction. You are in charge." I nodded, swallowing the lump in my throat. The crowd drew closer, their curiosity evident, yet I felt a strange inner calm begin to form. This was the real test, not the walk, not the experiment, but standing visible, unashamed, in front of others. I lifted my chin and faced them, my posture deliberate, confident, and authentic. Every breath, every movement, every glance reflected the courage I had cultivated in my private sanctuary. And then, just as I began to feel a small sense of triumph, a sudden voice rang out from the crowd, a voice that made my heart seize with dread. "Mark, I know your secret." I froze, blood running cold. Someone had recognized me, and now my journey of authenticity and courage faced its first true public confrontation. The words hung in the air like a weight, freezing me in place. My stomach twisted, my pulse hammered in my ears. Every eye in the small crowd seemed to focus on me, and the sudden realization that my secret might be exposed to strangers made my chest tighten painfully. Mom's hand squeezed mine, a steadying presence amid the chaos. "Mark, breathe. You are in control. Remember why you're here. This is your journey, not theirs." I nodded, forcing myself to inhale slowly, counting silently to calm the storm raging inside. I had worked months cultivating courage, and now was the first real test of that strength under scrutiny. The figure in the crowd stepped closer, a teenager from my school, someone who had seen snippets of me online, someone who clearly knew about my transformation. His smirk was playful, teasing, yet not entirely cruel. "So, this is the real Mark, huh? Didn't think you'd have the guts to show yourself like this." Heat rushed to my cheeks, but I refused to shrink. I straightened my posture, lifted my chin, and met his gaze steadily. "Yes, this is me. Fully. And I'm not hiding anymore." A murmur went through the crowd, curiosity mixing with surprise. Some whispered encouragement, others uncertainty, but I felt a strange sense of empowerment wash over me. By standing my ground, By embracing myself openly, I reclaimed the narrative. I was no longer subject to fear, I was choosing courage. Mom's eyes shone with pride. That's it, Mark. Own it. Be you. I took a few steps forward, allowing myself to move naturally, letting my gestures and expressions reflect confidence rather than fear. Every second was a small victory. Every glance met without flinching was a triumph. The crowd's whispers faded into the background, replaced by an inner clarity I had never known. Then, as if the universe wanted to test me further, a new voice rang out sharper, more authoritative. Mark, you're not hiding anything anymore, are you? I froze, recognizing the voice immediately. It was the school principal, unexpectedly present, his gaze piercing. Panic and dread threatened to surge, but Mom's gentle hand on my back grounded me. I'm not hiding, I admitted, my voice firm though my heart pounded. I'm myself. This is me. The principal studied me for a long moment, then nodded slightly, his expression inscrutable. The murmurs among the crowd intensified. Some students whispered judgment, others curiosity, and yet I stood, unwavering, drawing strength from every step I had taken toward authenticity. Alex appeared at my side, giving me a subtle nod of reassurance. His presence reminded me that courage wasn't about facing the world alone, it was about trusting in myself, while letting those who supported me walk alongside. Just as I began to feel a small sense of triumph, the teenager from earlier whispered under his breath, "You think this ends here? You're about to get more attention than you imagined." I froze, realizing the public exposure was only the beginning. Every brave step forward invited scrutiny, questions, and the unknown challenges that accompanied visibility. But for the first time, I didn't feel fear, just the determination to face whatever came next with authenticity and resilience. Suddenly, someone from the crowd stepped forward, holding a phone aimed directly at me. "Everyone, look at this. He's been hiding it all along." My stomach dropped. The public test had turned into a live exposure, and now my next choice would determine whether I fell into panic or claimed my courage completely. The phone's screen glowed toward me, capturing every detail of my carefully cultivated image, every inch of the lavender blouse, the skirt, the subtle touches of makeup. My heart hammered so loudly I feared it might betray me to the entire crowd. Panic threatened to take over, but a deep, steadying breath reminded me this was my moment, and I was in control. Mom's hand rested firmly on my back. "Mark, you've prepared for this. Remember who you are. Breathe. Own it." I swallowed hard and lifted my chin, letting the sunlight hit my face. Every whisper, every murmur from the crowd faded into the background. I focused solely on myself, on the courage I had nurtured through months of private experimentation, private doubts, and small victories. "This is me," I said, voice clear and unwavering. "I am Mark. I am not hiding. I am not afraid. This is who I am." The crowd went silent, stunned by the clarity and confidence in my words. A few faces softened with understanding, others still whispered judgment, but the power of claiming my truth outweighed every external opinion. I felt an overwhelming sense of liberation. The fear that had once constrained me now transformed into raw empowerment. Mom's eyes glistened with pride. "Yes, Mark. This is exactly why we did this. You're stronger than you've ever realized." Alex stepped closer, giving me a subtle nod. "You did it. You faced them all. And you did it with courage." I allowed a small, genuine smile to form. The trembling in my hands faded, replaced by an inner strength I hadn't known I possessed. I was fully visible, fully authentic, fully myself. But just as relief began to wash over me, the teenager who had first recognized me from the crowd stepped forward, this time holding his phone up high, voice louder. "Everyone, he's not just brave, he's amazing. Look at how confident he is." A ripple of murmurs ran through the crowd, but now it was admiration rather than ridicule. Faces shifted from curiosity to respect. Some students clapped quietly, and even the principal nodded approvingly. The same fear that had threatened to paralyze me moments ago now fueled a profound sense of triumph. I glanced at Mom, whose expression radiated pride and love. She whispered, "See? Courage always shows the way. And now, you've inspired others without even trying." I exhaled deeply, feeling the adrenaline slowly ebb, leaving a calm, grounded confidence in its place. For the first time, I truly understood what it meant to live openly, to embrace every facet of myself without shame or hesitation. The sunlight on the park felt warmer, the breeze gentler, and the murmurs of the crowd less intimidating. I had faced exposure, scrutiny, and fear and emerged victorious. My journey toward authenticity had taken its first major public step, and the sense of accomplishment was overwhelming. But then, my phone buzzed in my pocket. A new message appeared from an unknown number. My pulse quickened again as I read, "Impressive, Mark. You handled exposure perfectly. But the real journey is just beginning. Are you ready for the next step?" My smile faltered slightly. Relief was tempered by curiosity and the knowledge that growth never truly ends. The challenges I had faced so far were only the beginning. I looked at Mom and Alex, heart racing, and whispered, almost to myself, "Next step? What could possibly be bigger than this? And am I ready to face it?" The park had quieted down, but the buzz of my recent exposure still hummed in my ears. I felt a mix of relief, pride, and an unmistakable flutter of apprehension. My mom squeezed my hand gently. "Mark the message. The next step, they're inviting you to grow even more. Are you ready?" I hesitated, thinking about the journey so far. Every step I had taken from private experimentation to public affirmation had been terrifying, yet empowering. And now, an unseen guide was promising something bigger, something beyond what I had imagined. I think I am," I said cautiously, "but I don't know what it will be. I just know I want to keep moving forward." Mom smiled. "Then let's take it one step at a time. You've learned courage, authenticity, and confidence. Now it's time to expand those lessons." As we walked back home, my phone buzzed again. A short video message appeared from the unknown sender. My pulse quickened as I tapped to play it. The screen showed a familiar room, but not mine. A larger, well-lit space, filled with mirrors, makeup stations, clothes racks, and cameras. A voice spoke, calm and encouraging. "Mark, this is your next challenge. A controlled environment to explore your identity fully, safely, and publicly, but with guidance. You will perform, express, and document yourself as you never have before. Are you ready to step in?" I froze, a mixture of excitement and nervous tension washing over me. This wasn't just a private test anymore. This was a structured challenge, one designed to push me beyond comfort and into real growth. Mom squeezed my hand again. "We'll do this together. You're not alone." The next morning, we arrived at the location. The space was impressive, mirrors lining every wall, racks of clothing in countless styles, makeup stations meticulously arranged. Cameras were discreetly positioned, their lenses suggesting observation but not intrusion. It was intimidating, yet it radiated opportunity. A coordinator greeted us warmly. "Mark, welcome. Today, you'll experiment with expression, movement, and self-presentation. You'll also face tasks designed to strengthen your confidence under observation. Remember, safety, consent, and authenticity guide everything here." I nodded, swallowing my apprehension. I understand." Mom placed a steadying hand on my shoulder. "You've got this, Mark. Just focus on yourself." The first task was simple in theory. Pick an outfit, prepare your appearance, and introduce yourself to the room, explaining how you feel and what this identity means to you. But the moment I stepped in front of the mirrors, heart racing, I realized simplicity was deceptive. The reflection staring back at me was my own, but amplified, scrutinized, real. I adjusted my blouse, smoothed my hair, and took a deep breath. "I am Mark," I said, voice firm yet quivering slightly. "This is who I am. I've explored, struggled, and learned. And now, I am stepping into this fully, without fear or shame." The coordinator nodded approvingly. "Good. Now move to the camera area and record yourself sharing your story. Speak honestly. Show emotion. Let your courage guide your expression. My pulse surged as I walked to the camera station. Every step felt monumental. Every movement mattered. This was more than practice, it was exposure, performance, and documentation of growth all at once. As I began speaking, I noticed my voice strengthening with each word. The fear I had felt in the park, in my bedroom, in private moments, all coalesced into purpose. I was visible, authentic, and brave. But just as I reached a moment of confidence, a sudden sound from the far corner made me stop mid-sentence, a soft click, almost like a camera shutter, but not from the recording station. My pulse skipped. I turned slowly, eyes scanning the room. A shadow shifted near the mirrors, unseen before. I swallowed hard. This was the controlled environment, but someone or something had moved outside the expected parameters. I whispered under my breath, heart hammering. Who's there, and why are they watching me when no one should be? My pulse was hammering so loudly, I thought it might give me away. The shadow near the mirrors shifted again, subtle but deliberate. Every instinct screamed caution, yet my resolve held firm. I had come too far, fought too hard, to let fear dictate my next move. Mom's hand on my shoulder was steady, grounding me. Mark, focus. Remember why you're here. You are strong. You are visible. You are yourself. I nodded slowly, drawing in a deep breath. The air felt thick with anticipation. The room, though controlled and safe in every other sense, suddenly carried the weight of uncertainty. Whoever or whatever was observing had disrupted the rhythm I had carefully established. I stepped forward cautiously, moving closer to the corner where the shadow had appeared. Hello, I called, voice firm but polite. I don't mean any harm. Who's there? The shadow shifted again, and a figure emerged, a woman I didn't recognize, older, with a sharp but kind expression. She stepped fully into the light, holding a small tablet in her hands. Mark, she said, voice calm yet assertive. I'm here as part of your challenge. Not to judge, but to observe your resilience under unexpected circumstances. Are you ready to face this? My stomach twisted. I had anticipated controlled tasks, mirrors, cameras, but not a sudden observer entering mid-session. I think I am, I said, though uncertainty flickered in my mind. Mom squeezed my hand. You can do this. Remember, it's part of the process. The woman nodded and gestured toward the mirrors. We're going to simulate unpredictability. People, circumstances, and scrutiny will vary. Your task is to maintain authenticity, confidence, and composure despite the unexpected. Are you prepared? I took another deep breath, recalling the months of private exploration, the park exposure, the public tests. Yes, I said firmly. I am ready. The observer smiled faintly and stepped aside, revealing a row of small cameras that had been positioned around the room without my prior notice. Begin, she instructed. I moved back toward the center, adjusting my posture and smoothing my hair. The reflections in the mirrors multiplied, creating a kaleidoscope effect that made me feel simultaneously powerful and exposed. I spoke to the cameras, narrating my journey, expressing emotions I hadn't fully explored aloud before. Minutes passed, each one a test of endurance, authenticity, and resilience. The observer occasionally adjusted her tablet, noting my reactions, but never intervened. I began to feel a strange exhilaration. I was being watched, evaluated, yet my control over my presence, my identity, and my courage remained intact. Then, suddenly, the observer spoke, voice carrying a hint of challenge. Mark, what if someone outside this room, someone unprepared, saw this video? Could you maintain this authenticity under scrutiny that matters? I froze for a heartbeat, the weight of her words settling on me. This wasn't just a test of private courage or controlled exposure. This was about integrity, composure, and truth in the face of real, unpredictable consequences. I straightened my shoulders, lifted my chin, and looked directly into the nearest mirror. I would, I said firmly. I've learned who I am. I will not hide. I will not falter. This is me, fully, authentically, no matter the circumstances. The observer's eyes flickered with approval. Good. But one final challenge remains, and it will require everything you've learned. A chill ran down my spine. Every previous challenge, every exposure, every step toward authenticity had led to this point. My courage, my identity, my resilience all would be tested in the next moment. The observer raised her tablet, and a live feed appeared on the large screen at the front of the room. My own reflection stared back at me, but now it was being broadcast beyond this controlled space. My heart raced as I whispered, This is the moment I either prove myself completely or lose control forever." The sudden live feed made my stomach lurch. My reflection multiplied across the monitors, but now each mirrored image was amplified, scrutinized, and shared beyond the controlled room. Every flick of my hair, every expression, every gesture was visible not just to the observer, but potentially to a broader, unknown audience. Mom's hand tightened on mine. "Mark, remember, authenticity is your strength. Control what you can. Don't let fear dominate you." I nodded, swallowing hard. My throat felt dry, yet determination flared within me. This was the ultimate test, not just of courage, but of integrity, of standing fully visible without hesitation, knowing someone, somewhere, was watching. The observer's voice broke the tense silence. "Mark, for the next task, you must express yourself fully while responding to unforeseen prompts. Each prompt will test your confidence, your composure, and your emotional authenticity. Are you ready?" "Yes," I said firmly, my voice resonating with a mix of anxiety and conviction. The first prompt appeared on the screen. Describe your journey to embracing yourself fully. Include your fears, triumphs, and how you overcame them. I inhaled deeply and began speaking. Words flowed naturally, unfiltered but deliberate. I recounted months of secret exploration, the lessons I had learned in private, the courage cultivated during small public exposures, and the unwavering support from Mom and Alex. Each sentence strengthened my resolve. Each emotion voiced was a declaration of authenticity. The observer nodded subtly, indicating the prompt was complete. "Next," she said, "respond to criticism, real or imagined, from those who might not understand you." I hesitated for a fraction of a second, then remembered the moments at the park, the whispers, the stares, the teasing voices. I spoke with clarity, acknowledging fear and doubt, but emphasizing my commitment to being true to myself. "I cannot control others' reactions," I said, "but I can control my response. I will remain myself, regardless of judgment." The live feed displayed real-time comments from the controlled audience, some supportive, some challenging, but I focused on my breathing, posture, and tone, refusing to let external opinions destabilize me. The final prompt appeared. Imagine the future fully embracing your identity. Describe your goals, your confidence, and how you will navigate challenges. I closed my eyes briefly, visualizing the path ahead. I will continue to grow, to explore, and to embrace my authentic self, I said, opening my eyes with unwavering determination. I will face challenges, yes, but I will never hide. I will live openly, courageously, and unapologetically. A hush fell over the room. The observer's expression softened, approvingly. "Mark, you have demonstrated courage, resilience, and authenticity under real pressure. But now, one final, unforeseen element awaits. Your response will determine the next stage of your journey." I felt my pulse surge. Every previous challenge, every public exposure, every moment of private preparation had led to this instant. My hands trembled slightly, but my heart was steady. This was the culmination, the ultimate test of courage. The observer stepped aside, revealing a second live feed, this one broadcasting directly to a larger, public audience outside the facility. My eyes widened. The controlled environment had shifted. My authenticity would now be visible to countless unknown viewers, simultaneously safe but unpredictable. Mom's whispers steadied me. "Mark, trust yourself. You've earned this. You are ready." I inhaled, exhaling slowly, and lifted my chin. The cameras captured every detail, every flicker of emotion. I could feel the weight of possibility, the enormity of visibility, but I refused to let it intimidate me. A sudden alert appeared on the monitor. Live audience response. Trending immediately. Millions are watching. Your next action will define your influence, and your courage will be tested like never before. I froze, heart pounding, whispering under my breath. Millions, and now I have to prove myself completely. Can I really do this? The live feed was trending. Millions, according to the monitor, were now witnessing me mark in real time, fully visible, fully authentic. My chest tightened, and yet, amid the tension, a strange surge of empowerment rose inside me. I had spent months preparing for this, not just in secret, but in courage, resilience, and unwavering honesty. Mom's hand rested firmly on my shoulder, grounding me. Mark, remember, your story is yours. Speak it, live it, own it. I inhaled slowly, letting the weight of every previous challenge settle into clarity. This was the moment I had unknowingly trained for, the culmination of private exploration, small public tests, and the guided challenge in the studio. Now it was real. I stepped forward, addressing the camera with calm determination. I am Mark. For months, I hid parts of myself, afraid of judgment, afraid of exposure. But I've learned that hiding only prolongs fear. Embracing myself fully is the only way to live authentically. Every step I've taken, private, public, guided, has brought me here, and I am proud of who I am. The live chat exploded with messages of encouragement, curiosity, and support. My pulse raced, but my voice remained steady. The magnitude of being seen by millions could have been paralyzing, yet I felt grounded, anchored by the journey I had undertaken. The observer nodded approvingly from across the room. Mark, this is the pinnacle of your challenge. Respond now to the audience questions live. One by one, prompts appeared. How did you overcome fear? What advice do you have for someone hiding their true self? What does authenticity mean to you? I responded with sincerity, clarity, and emotion. I spoke about fear, resilience, acceptance, and the power of support from loved ones. I described how small victories, private moments of courage, subtle affirmations from Mom and Alex had built the foundation for this public triumph. With every answer, my confidence strengthened. The live audience could feel authenticity radiating from me, each word a declaration of courage. I saw messages thanking me for my honesty, expressing admiration, and sharing similar struggles. The impact was tangible, immediate, and profound. Mom's eyes glistened with pride. Mark, look at what you've created. Not just confidence, but inspiration. Alex stepped closer, whispering, You've shown everyone how courage looks. And you've done it without fear, without hiding, fully yourself. I allowed a small, triumphant smile to form. Relief and exhilaration mingled. For the first time, I truly believed that embracing my identity fully without shame or hesitation was not just possible, but empowering. But just as I began to revel in the moment, the observer's voice carried a final, serious tone. Mark, there's one last layer. Public triumph is only part of growth. True transformation requires integrating this courage into every aspect of your life. Are you ready for the real-world consequences of visibility? I froze, recognizing the gravity. This wasn't just a controlled challenge. It was life beyond cameras, beyond observers' authenticity in the unpredictable, uncontrollable world outside the studio. I glanced at Mom and Alex, heart pounding, and whispered under my breath. The world sees me now, but am I truly ready to live this fully, everywhere, without hiding ever again? The moment after the live session ended, silence filled the room. I exhaled deeply, feeling a mix of exhaustion, exhilaration, and profound relief. Millions had seen me, my authentic self, my story of courage and transformation. But the challenge wasn't over. This was only the beginning of living openly beyond the studio, beyond controlled environments, beyond comfort zones. Mom squeezed my hand, her eyes gleaming with pride. Mark, you've done it. But now, it's about bringing this courage into your everyday life. Home, school, friendships everywhere. I nodded slowly, absorbing the enormity of her words. I realized that real transformation wasn't about isolated triumphs. It was about integration. Every choice, every interaction, every decision would now carry the weight and the power of authenticity. Alex stepped forward, placing a reassuring hand on my back. You've inspired more than you know. People are going to notice, admire, and maybe even follow your example. But remember, strength comes from being yourself, no matter the opinions of others. I felt a surge of determination. I had faced private fear, public exposure, controlled challenges, and now, the knowledge that millions had witnessed my courage. I was ready to live this fully, unashamed, and unapologetically. The observer, who had guided the challenges from the start, spoke one final time. Mark, the final step is to take this authenticity into real-life situations. Your journey will continue, with new opportunities, new tests, and new triumphs. Are you ready? I drew a steadying breath, looking at my mom and Alex. Yes, I said firmly. I'm ready to live fully, openly, and courageously. The observer smiled, nodding approvingly. Then your journey continues beyond this space. Every step forward will define who you become. As we left the studio, the sunlight felt warmer, the world brighter, and every moment laden with possibility. I understood now that courage wasn't just a private feeling or a moment on camera, it was a lifestyle, a commitment to authenticity no matter the circumstance. Walking side by side with Mom and Alex, I felt a profound sense of liberation and anticipation. Life beyond the studio awaited: school, friends, the streets, new people, and challenges yet unknown. But I was ready. I had built resilience, confidence, and authenticity strong enough to carry me forward. Yet, as we reached the car and I glanced at the live feed notifications on my phone, a new message appeared from the same unknown sender. My pulse quickened. The message read, "Congratulations, Mark. You've proven yourself publicly, but the next stage awaits. Are you prepared to inspire, lead, and face the world without hiding ever again?" I looked at Mom and Alex, heart racing, a mixture of excitement and curiosity swirling inside me. The journey so far had been transformative, but this message hinted at challenges and opportunities beyond anything I had faced yet. I whispered under my breath, heart pounding, "The world is watching, and now, it's my time to truly live authentically." But what comes next? Will I be ready?